Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 52 of The Real Estate Show. And I'm Cherise Selley. With me is Judy Steenland. We are part of Selley Group Real Estate right here in Colorado Springs. We're a tiny but mighty boutique brokerage, and we're packing a lot of information into a very short and concise podcast right now to take it to our local clients and friends and family, as well as people that are in the nation, because a lot of this information applies to everybody. And so thank you so much for I think we have at least one loyal fan. I'll say his name is Ron. So this is a shout out to our one fan, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
So, can we get by the end of this podcast, 2 loyal fans? We'll see, Judy. What do you think?
I think so. I've got to believe we will.
It's so fun to do these with you.
It is. Even if we're not getting all the feedback we would like to from everyone, we have fun doing it.
We do.
Yeah.
And, I think it keeps us in the current together.
Yes.
As we do this, we're kind of counseling ourselves. We're walking through these experiences, and we want to quicken people's real estate knowledge because we don't shoot too many weeks ahead. But this may be a couple of weeks in front of a shoot, but it's not like we want to shoot a month out because things are changing so fast.
So fast. Yeah. And just forcing us to know our numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And talking about numbers, I will just quickly highlight what we did when we got May's stats in. We do not currently have June's stats in as this podcast is being aired, but very important to know that the average price of a home in May of 2022 was $554,013. So it went down 1.4% from April of 22, but it was still up 13.2%.
Yeah.
So that was May's average number. The median price was actually up from April to May of 22 by 0.5%. So just a creepy bit up to 487. So that's where the median is. Days on the market have gone up. Supply has gone up. Total active inventory for May was 1,365 units. And Judy, you have more to add, not only about inventory, but about pricing that you're looking at.
Well, I still think we're seeing a shift, and we're still getting a lot of price corrections. We're getting these emails daily. I know I am. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
But last week, in the last 7 days, we have had 334 price decreases.
Okay.
But we've had 418 new listings. And then this is the last 7 days. And so we've had 196 of those go under contract. So the net of that is, yes, we're still seeing price corrections because I think a lot of agents and sellers are wanting to list at the high side of the market. And with interest rate jumps, we're just not seeing the listings bring that exorbitant number that we were seeing with multiple offers.
Agreed to that.
Yeah.
I very much agree with that. But I also see that, there is a balance that we're kind of achieving, a slight balance.
Yeah.
Like the balance of a buyer being able to sleep before they make an offer may actually be here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's good news, especially for buyers. I mean, I think it's good news for the sellers because we talked about it. They're still higher than they were. I mean, I've got a home under contract. And while we were hoping to price at X number of dollars, we're priced at Y number of dollars, which is about $50,000 less than we had hoped for. But I sold this house to this family 3 years ago, almost exactly. I'm sorry, 2 years ago, almost exactly, because we were calculating days.
Sure.
And we are still almost $200,000 higher. So the $50,000 that we didn't get is not bad news because we're still $200,000 higher than we were incredible. 2 years ago.
That's incredible. And that goes to show because there was a national article that came out by Realtor magazine, and it was talking about homeowner gains over the last 12 months. So sellers, this is not all bad news for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want it to sound like this is your doomsday time because it isn't. And you're exactly right on point, Judy. Those clients of yours are still making, back in the day, whoever thought they would make $200,000 on their home gain?
Yeah, they're making more on their homes than they did in their salary by far.
Exactly.
So,
and going back to this article, I thought it was so interesting. And what it spiked me to remember is that if the market is slightly going down right now, we're still at record highs on that equity gain for sellers. So sellers, you just have to be ahead of the curve, be ahead of where these price adjustments are. Don't be the tail.
Yeah.
Be the head to be competitive. But here's the average gain, according to this article, for just the state of Colorado. I think it's huge. The average gain for Colorado is $92,000.
That's a lot of money.
Over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
The average gain for California, $141,000.
Yeah.
Average gain for Texas, $54,000. Average gain for Florida, $90,000. So I think that's incredible. So there are still great gains. We're not out of that time frame.
Yeah.
We're just getting into a place where we are kind of historically with the lowest amount of new mortgages coming up. That's because of the rising interest rates.
Right.
But it is still a time of great gain for sellers, but a little bit more balance for buyers.
Yeah. And I feel like, I feel like for buyers who are thinking about sitting on the sidelines and waiting this out, seeing if prices are going to come down, we're still seeing those increases. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. And if a buyer is wise and they're not buying above their means, mm-hmm. and they can ride this out. And mm-hmm. I mean, the only time we see buyers losing money when they sell their homes is if they're forced, if they're in a position where they have to sell, right? All they have to do is wait a little bit longer if we're in a position where numbers have declined a little bit. But overall, we're still seeing a net profit for any homeowner that we're helping right now.
I mean, if I think of when we both started back in the 90s, you and I both started in the 90s.
Yes.
Now we're selling homes to people born in the 90s,
that's
right?
Oh, that's hard, yeah.
So if you look at the average, the gains over all of those years in real estate, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100%. And that's the counsel we give our clients. Like if you have a short-term buying mentality, it may not be your time.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be there for the long run, I mean, you need shelter while you ride out a bad market.
Yeah.
Are you going to pay somebody else's rent? Are you
well,
going to pay their
the thing.
mortgage?
Are you going to pay?
Are
you going to pay rent? Or are you going to pay a mortgage?
Yes.
It's you have two options.
That's right. And I think let's practically break down, what does this changing market mean for a zip code right now, right here in Colorado Springs? So I took the 80921 zip code because there is so much growth happening in that Northgate Corridor.
Right.
It's right off of Interquest in that area, Glen Eagle, in the whole Flying Horse area. So I think it's really interesting to just take a snapshot. And so for all active inventory, in that 80921 zip code, right now, there are 72 active listings. I didn't even think we had 7 at the beginning of the year.
Right.
72 active listings. The average price in that zip code is $1,061,000. Listing price, that was where they started. The average listing price now is $1,032,000. So there's been a decrease on average. So that average priced home has been going down. I mean, some of these decreases are well over 100,000 on some of these very high-end homes. And then some are the very more median or average price range. So that's why the spread is about 30,000. But I think it's really interesting to see now that the standing inventory, a lot of these homes do have a price decrease, but they are selling. Because over the last 30 days, let's talk about the last 30. We're not talking about the last 6 months. The last 30 days in that zip code, 63 homes have sold. And they are selling for an average of 102% over the list price.
Right.
So in the last 30 years, now that's gone down. That 2%, it was 3, 4, 5. I mean, some of them were 12% over and more. So now we're kind of getting back down to, you might get the home at the list price, and that list price may have gone down from the very initial time that it was listed. So that's, I think, practically what we're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that, if we are falling back to the basic principles of we talked about the pillars of real estate in pricing our listings and going forward, as long as we're setting the expectations for our sellers ahead of time, I think that everybody's happy.
Yes.
I mean, buyers are happy, sellers are happy. They're making, they've got plenty of equity that they're cashing in on.
Yes.
And we just have to be really alert as to what's going on, and we have to do our jobs well.
That's exactly right. And doing our jobs well isn't always telling somebody what they want to hear.
Yeah.
It's telling them the truth.
Yeah, because it does not help the sellers, you or I, to overlist a property.
Never.
And while all of us are learning right now and staying up with the numbers daily, we are having to do some price corrections.
Yes, we are, but homes are still selling.
They are selling.
And they're selling at premium. So I think both are happening, both are true, but that's the part about connecting with people who have experience and sage experience. So if you are in this marketplace, that's what our group is here to help you with, to discern where do you fit in all of this equation. And we want to help propel you forward, not get you stuck in the fear, because the fear can attack anybody. But really, I've said this before, but fear can just be like a little grasshopper, not a giant, if it's addressed properly.
Yeah.
So
Those
thank
are great
you.
words.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Judy, it's always a pleasure to have you. And we're going to catch you next time.
Hey, real quick before we end, I have to shout out to you for happy birthday, Cherise Selley. It is your birthday, and here you are shooting a podcast.
Oh.
I hope your day is amazing.
Well, thank you so much. It is because of people like you in my life. And it is because of clients who I love, who I've known for years. And you know what? I'm alive. I want to thank God for life and to thank God for the fact that living and loving is the key to a happy life. So no matter how hard it gets, it's the people that keep us going.
That's right.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.